Hi, y'all. It's Jenny from America again, coming from a hillbilly state. I know most of you have heard this story that was, I think it was released either yesterday or today. And kudos to John Sweeney, who was written part of this. This is concerned the child that Dowie Evans misdiagnosed as having what we would call bulimia. Instead, the baby had a brain tumor, or that I should say the child. And this is why this is really scary, and how this man, oh my God, absolute danger to his profession. Basically, this was an 8-year-old boy. Now, I do not need to do a literature search at all to know that bulimia in an 8-year-old boy, it's a 1 in a billion chance. Okay, 8-year-old boys do not do bulimia. Again, also, there isn't a medical school or a decent physician in the world that would ever first go as the first line of a diagnosis for the psychological without ruling out the organic or the physical. Meaning, if someone's having some behavioral issues, you first must always rule out there is not something physical going on. Period. And again, let's remember Bonnie Lewis back, I believe it was at the 1980s. That girl had such a severe abdominal pain. The girl actually had a second opinion to go to Great Ormond Street Hospital in Dowie. Actually canceled that appointment, and the family was forced to go to Florida, here in America, to get the diagnosis. He sent a social worker to get that child back and took that child away from that family. Again, this is really scary. And then we all know what happened to the poor boy with Addison's disease, and Dowie was the quote unquote endocrinologist specialist and didn't know a boy died from Addison's disease. And again with Lucy, and again he was this is just scary. Now, this happened in, I believe, 2008, and Dowie, within, I believe, 6 months, quote unquote, retired. I'm calling bullshit on this. They forced him out after this. Now, what really, really, really scared me is that I found out he had something called papilledema, okay? Let's see where I found that here. Anyhow, something called papilledema. And basically what that is that's a swelling of the optic nerve. We're thinking more and more now that the eyes are basically an extension of the brain. The eyes are connected directly to the brain by a very, very powerful and strong nerve called the optic nerve. And it's easy to look at that to see if there's any issue with the optic nerve. Basically, this child had a swelling in the optic nerve, which is a classic sign of something going on with the brain. That's something that you can easily, to some degree, assess. We've all had this. You know, the doctor takes that flashlight and shines that flashlight into your eyes. They can look back and they can see that there's something could be going on with that nerve. Had Dowie taken a minute, and basically the child had what? Projectile vomiting, which is classic for not only a gastrointestinal issue, but could also be classic for a brain swelling issue or a brain pressure issue, because your brain actually has a vomit center in it. And if there's too much pressure in the brain, you will vomit. And it isn't just a vomit, it is a projectile vomit. Second sign this kid had was a stiff neck. And then again, think about where all your nerves are. That is classic. It's a more, I always thought it was more classic of meningitis, but it's also classic of any neurological thing. The third sign was the kid had papilledema, swelling of the optic nerve. And again, thank God one of the parents was a nurse. That parent put their foot down and said, we're demanding a second opinion. In my understanding, getting a second opinion in the NHS is difficult, but thank God a doctor listened, looked at that child, ordered your basic CT scan and said, holy cow, there's a brain tumor. Now, this child had autism, and Dowie thought, again, dismissing a child that is neurodivergent For God's sake, the man, it's all, it just goes beyond belief how this doctor was allowed for decades to practice. This is just beyond all belief. And again, I had a nice lunch today with one of my good nurse friends, and she's just, I tell her about what's going on with Lucy, and she just cannot believe it. At least now I'm going to send her that. At least I have Netflix to show her with that. Again, it just, I am so sad. I am so, and where my heart goes out, obviously as a nurse, my heart goes out to all the nurses that are affected by all this and the bullying that goes on. But my heart goes out to the medical profession too, a profession that I, as a nurse, has always had great collaboration and admiration for. And I felt the admiration and collaboration that came back to me from physicians. But also, physicians saved my daughter's life. A physician has made my life so much better since I had a pretty involved intestinal surgery. So again, my heart is also going out to the medical profession, how this is really going to take a toll on all the good doctors out there, how people now will not believe you. But I'm hoping now that the doctors now will rise up and take out those Bill Yoxels, that Stephen Brewery's, Ravi Jairam, and anyone who had anything to do with this case, anything to do with Dowie Evans, and just rid yourselves of this evilness. Again, wow. Again, all Dowie would have had to do was just take a basic ophthalmoscope, that flashlight thing, flash a light into this kid's eyes, take a 2-minute thing, and just notice that could have, and 3 neurological signs was completely missed by this man. I think he deliberately missed it. I think he gets a sick and satanic, sociopathic thrill out of diagnosing psychological issues on people. And the sad part is if you want to be a sociopath or a psychopath, besides joining a religious community situation or becoming a religious leader, the other path that you can hide yourself and get a real glee on it is in the medical or nursing professions. Again, I will let you make up your own decision. But again, this is, I read this article and was deeply disturbed. Bye-bye.